Welcome to Don't Chuck It Up, the podcast where we help students and families navigate the wild journey of the college search and help you apply to colleges without breaking a sweat. I'm your host, Chuck, and today we're talking all about that college essay. You know, the application essay, the thing that absolutely stops most of my students dead in their tracks. You see, it is almost August, and this is when students are really starting to focus on their applications if they're going to be a rising senior. And every time I meet with a student and I talk about the essay, they absolutely go eyes wide open and kind of have a little bit of a moment. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about it because a million kids are going to stare at that same blank Common App box and think the exact same thing. What do I even say? You see, they feel that there's this huge pressure to sound absolutely impressive, to write the most unique sounding essay, to have it sound as great as something from E.E. Cummings or Virginia Woolf or Amanda Gorman, or be a PhD scientist who just discovered the cure for all cancers. Here's the quick thing. The real question that every student should be silently asking is, what do I even say about myself? Today, I will have 5 tips to help you with the essay. And one spoiler alert, none of these tips are going to help you sound more impressive, or my tip won't be that you should sound more impressive. So before we start, I really want to dive into what this is. And I have been in the higher education space now for over 25 years, and I estimate that I have read over 25,000 common application essays. And no, I'm not exaggerating. I've read a lot of these. And one thing I want parents and counselors and students to remember is that the essay that you're writing probably has already been written before in some way, shape, or form. I've heard about, students who've injured their ACL while playing sports. I've heard about instances of overcoming different challenges and disasters and catastrophic events. I've read a lot, and I want to give you some very calming thoughts. And I want to give you 5 important tips to help you with this process. Of course, if you have questions, make sure that you comment on this episode, send me a direct message on any of my social media platforms, or send me an email at don'tchuckituppodcast@gmail.com. I would love to help you out because, this essay is something, but it's not as bad as you think it is. So let's start with tip number 1, which is how to get started. And a key idea, you might want to start small, not big. So let's lay out the ground rules first. This is not actually a quote-unquote traditional essay. I reminded back to my 9th grade English teacher, Mrs. Arnold, who had fiery red hair and looked like Mrs. Garrett from The Facts of Life, for those of you from my generation who understand who I'm talking about. And Mrs. Arnold was very particular with me in 9th grade that an essay, when we are writing an essay, it has to have 5 key paragraphs. The first one is the intro, then there's 3 supporting paragraphs with each one having its own relevant point and supporting ideas to that point, and then paragraph number 5 is the conclusion to wrap it all together. And when many of my students hear that we're going to write the college essay for the Common App, they have the exact same thought that I just described. They are writing a traditional essay. And that's not true at all. In fact, what you're going to write for this should feel more like an entry into your journal, or sharing an important memory from your past that still lives in your brain vividly today, or possibly reflecting on a time in your life where you really felt that you changed. You see, this essay is not really what you think it's going to be. And it actually should be more fun to write than stressful. So stay away from the cliche openers that I've seen time and time again on many, many Common App essays. Ever since I was young, I've been passionate about whatever topic. I would like to discuss my love of, yeah, I've heard that one before too. Or, in this essay, I will talk about, and then proceeds to become dull, drab, and boring. So why do these fail? They fail because they're generic. It's a telling me, not showing me style of essay. And admissions readers really have seen thousands of these, really, thousands. So instead, if you're struggling with how to start the whole thing, you may want to start your essay with a specific moment. Maybe it's an image, a line of dialogue, a small detail, or a quote that connects to your story that you are going to share. So again, here's a bad example of how to start an essay. I injured my ACL during the last home basketball game. Now, it tells a point, but it's not really exciting to read. A good way to start that same essay might be, I will miss the smell of cheap popcorn and the squeaking of sneakers on the basketball court floor. You see, I'm giving you a picture, an idea, a thought, a memory that draws the reader in and makes you go, ooh, what is this going to be about? And once you've started with that small detail, you need to zoom out and get to the bigger picture quite quickly. Remember, for the Common App essay, you only have a total of 650 words. This cannot be an autobiographical short-form book. You really have a very small space to get a lot of work done. And too many students spend way too long setting up the story and don't talk about what they actually experienced or learned from that story. Tip number 2, and this is going to be hard for a lot of students, is you need to write like you talk. And for some students, that might actually be using the speech-to-text function that you have on many of your writing apps on your laptop or on your computer, or even starting on your phone. So kill the very thought of doing a thesaurus-heavy essay. I see time and time again kids that are reaching for really big words to sound smart. Or, spoiler, parents writing in the really big words that they think that their students should sound like. I truly believe that for these essays, your voice and authenticity are way more important than the vocabulary choices every time. So if this sounds like you, and it should, that will be more important than sounding super big, wordy, academic-y. Again, let me give you a couple examples. Example number 1. The culmination of my formative years has instilled within me an unwavering predilection for scientific inquiry. I don't even know what I said. Here's the way it should sound, in my opinion. I've basically been taking things apart to see how they work ever since I was 6. I'm more excited to read that second essay. I've read plenty of the other version when I was in graduate school, and yeah, not so fun. Remember, the admissions counselor is going to read through this in literally a matter of moments. The entire application read from start to end lasts less than 15 minutes. So they're only going to spend a minute or two reading your essay. And if they have to really dig through all of the thesaurus-y type words, they are going to become very dull and boring with your essay very quickly. Here's another example to prove my point. My participation in the varsity soccer program has engendered profound personal growth and cultivated indispensable leadership acumen. Yeah, I don't want to read any more of that one. Here's how I think it should sound. Soccer taught me how to lead without being the loudest person on the field. You see, in my opinion, your essay should actually sound like the script of a podcast, believe it or not. It should have all of these ups and down tones and interesting interjections, because that's going to be more exciting for the reader to experience and really enjoy reading your essay. Why? Because it's warm, it's accessible, and there's no jargon. Kind of like the Don't Chuck It Up podcast. You see where I'm going with this. All right. Tip number 3. Your essay topic matters less than the actual lens. So let me explain this. There's a really big myth out there that you need to have a super dramatic story. The nonprofit that you started at the age of 6, or the obstacle that you overcame when you were just 3, or possibly, the biggest hurdle of your life that you ever could have possibly accomplished, and you did it by the age of 10. To be honest, and this is going to sound a little weird, a mundane topic like a part-time job, a family dinner ritual, a weird hobby can actually be more interesting. In fact, I like reading those. I like reading those a lot. Why does this matter? Because the topic reveals more about how the student thinks and less about the actual subject matter of the topic. For example, one of my students is working on this type of a topic, and I think it is really great. The student is writing about being in charge of their younger cousins and how it taught that student more responsibility for themselves and for others. It's a great story about the first time that this student really thought about, wow, I'm in charge of these younger people, and I have to make sure that they come back for dinner tonight all in one piece, and explains how they went about it during a summer experience. And I really enjoy that essay. It's not earth-shattering, I cured cancer, but I learn a lot about the student, what their values are, what they're interested in, and how they really learned this new responsibility and taking charge just from this simple experience of taking care of their younger cousins. Now, before I continue with the next 2 tips, if you've been enjoying this episode, make sure that you like it, add a comment, and of course, share it with a friend. This helps me connect with more students and families all around the country. So tip number 4, you really need to show reflection about what you are writing about, not just report on the chain of events. See, there's one common failure mode that I see in essays time and time again. A student will write, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And basically, it is a resume in paragraph form. Now, the best essays spend real, honest time talking about the so what? What changed? What did you learn? How did you see these things differently now? Let me give you a couple of examples. Freshman year, I joined the debate team even though I was terrified of public speaking. I went to practice every week and worked hard. Sophomore year, I made varsity. Junior year, I became captain and led our team to the regional finals. It was a lot of hard work, but it paid off, and I'm really proud of what we accomplished. You see, that's just basically a resume in paragraph form. It's a timeline of accomplishments with almost no inside feeling, reflection, or understanding. Let me give you the exact same student who spent some time reflecting on their experiences and wrote something slightly different. I still remember standing up for my first debate round, hands shaking so badly I could hear my note cards rattling. I lost that round badly. What I didn't expect was how much I'd come to need that feeling. The fear right before you speak. Because it turned out to be the only time I ever felt fully present. 3 years later, when I became captain, my job wasn't to be the best debater in the room. It was to notice which of my teammates had that same shaky hands look before their rounds, and to be the person who told them it gets better. I'm not sure I would have learned to pay that kind of attention to other people if I hadn't spent a year being so scared myself. For that second example, I want you to notice how little plot there actually is in there. They joined the team, lost a round, became captain. About 20% of the words are plot related. The other 80% are truly reflection. What the fear taught the student, how it changed the way they showed up for others on the team. So if a student can outline their essay when they're writing it, and it's more of a third of it is just describing certain events, that's a signal that you need to cut out the play-by-play and go deeper onto the so what. What now? What did you learn? Remember, the story in the essay is just the doorway. The meaning is the actual room. Now, tip number 5, and this is one that I have used with every student I have worked with, and it absolutely works. It's going to sound silly, but trust me and give it a try. This is simple, practical, and something that you can literally do as soon as you have a rough draft of your essay. I want you to shut the door of your room, pull your essay up on your device of wherever you're writing it, and I want you to actually physically read it out loud to yourself. Why? Because often when we're staring at a screen, or in my day, handwriting on a notepad, our eyes don't always catch everything that we need to be doing or things that we need to change, but our ears will. So if you simply just pull up your essay and read it out loud, slow, deliberate, or whatever style you want, I think your ears will catch things that you need to adjust. For example, if it sounds like an accomplishment speech or a resume, you need to revise that right now. If it sounds like you're telling a story to a good friend, you're getting close and you're on the right track. Now, after you've read it out to yourself aloud and you really like how it sounds, you're like, wow, this is great. Your next challenge? Read it out loud to someone else and watch their face. Read it to a relative or a close friend and see how they react. I have a lot of my students do this, and it's awesome. So when you're ready and you want to really do a fine-tuned pass on your resume, read it out loud. Even better, read it out loud, record it, and play it back to yourself. You will notice things that you need to change, or you may go, yes, that rocks. So over the past 25 years, here is what I've noticed. A lot of students, and honestly, a lot of parents, treat the essay like a performance review. One more place to prove that they're impressive enough, accomplished enough, worthy, quote unquote, of a brand name college or university. That mindset makes for essays that are polished, safe, and honestly, very forgettable. Because they're not actually written to anyone. They're written at an imaginary panel of judges. You see, the essay isn't the last hurdle before being, quote unquote, let in or admitted. It's actually one of the only places in the entire college application where a college or university gets to hear a student's real voice. Not their GPA, not their activities list, just who you are as an individual. And that cuts both ways. You see, it's not just the college or university deciding if they want the student. It's also information the student is putting out into the world to help the right place recognize itself in the essay. I used to love this when I was in admissions. I would read the essay and be like, oh, this student sounds like someone that is at our school, and this sounds like our school would really impact this student. And it would make me absolutely excited. So if a student writes what they think a top school wants to hear, they might get in somewhere that is actually a bad fit for who they are, because they're not being genuine. You might get admitted, but you're going to get there and feel sorely not the same as everybody else. If a student writes honestly, the colleges and universities that respond to that honestly are more likely to be the ones where the student will actually thrive, enjoy, and really feel proud of their college experience. Perfection is impressive, but it's forgettable. Honesty and vulnerability are memorable, and those self-select for the right match. Your essay's job isn't to make you look flawless. It's to make you look like you, because the goal was never to get into the most impressive school. The goal is to end up somewhere that's actually a good fit. And you can't find fit by hiding who you actually are. So stop asking, how do I make myself sound impressive? And start asking, how do I make sure the right college or university recognizes itself in my essay? Now, before you go, we launched a Facebook community for the Don't Chuck It Up show. It's called Don't Chuck It Up College Admissions Community. You can find us on Facebook, and it is a place to keep talking about everything we cover here on the Don't Chuck It Up podcast and YouTube channel. You can ask questions, share your own story, or tell us what you want to hear on an upcoming episode. So come to the Don't Chuck It Up College Admissions Community on Facebook. Say hi. I'd love to see you there. Thanks for listening to Don't Chuck It Up. If today's episode was helpful, be sure to subscribe and share it with the family navigating the college search and application process. I'll be back next week with more tips and tricks. Until then, remember, don't chuck it up.
Don't chuck